Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thanks so much for joining me here today. We're going to take a quick look at Elon. And just before we do, we normally look at Bitcoin, but I can summarize in the fact that Bitcoin is basically stuck on stupid at about 61,000 right now. It is progressing a little bit higher, trying to make higher highs on the short term, but long term, it's still making higher highs, so we're totally good, right? So try not to worry. We should expect a break to the upside here soon. This should be the last consolidation slash retracement from it. And if you're new to the channel, by the way, not a financial advisor, this is for educational purposes only. You should always do your own research, but note that I have a trading community designed to ensure that everyone becomes better traders, because my goal for these videos is to help educate other people, because I truly love helping others, especially reaching financial freedom, right? That being said, check that out in your own time. It's also a hybrid too, where I have a signal group where I send out signals for every single trade that I take, and it's a pretty awesome experience, fully automated through Coinstats, which is a trading bot. Now, for Elon, one-day candlestick, taking a look here. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at some of the obvious stuff and move on to the deeper dive. 50-day moving average wasn't tested here today. We're all good there. We're back under 70 on the RSI, perfectly fine. We actually like to see 50 to 70 on the RSI, especially after it's had a strong leg down. We didn't drop into the lower hemisphere here under sub 50 RSI. That's a very good sign. We've also got a potential divergence on the MACD, but I don't think that's really going to do much. It will very likely actually bounce, which we see this happen a lot when the price comes back down, and it just kind of continues on its way, right? Could look something like that. It may or may not, but generally speaking, I think that we're out of the woods so far with Elon. But you got to understand, like, the amount of movement. I mean, almost 7,000. Well, that's probably an exaggeration, but let's just say, 1,000%, 800%, whatever the case is. I mean, in a literal span of about 7 to 10 days, we saw about 800 to 1,000% gain. That's very significant. So that being said, it retraced like normal, right? We can expect a retracement in that regard. It has to happen. So what goes up must come down. Therefore, on the one-day chart, we're looking pretty standard for Elon right now. It does look like it worked out to be a nice little support there at about 119. We'll take a look at Fibonacci here. Actually, why don't we just do that now or on the taller time frames here and kind of see. Yeah, we can see we got a support about 122. Let's go ahead and why don't we just go ahead and create a couple more here. Let's make sure to put this up here right. So we'll just go ahead and maybe add this here as well. 169 could be a resistance. And then we'll just make sure we got the support level here as well at about 86. Okay, so now we got most everything except for this guy here at about 122. Okay, so we got a nice amount of lines on the chart, right? So good fun stuff here. But generally speaking, for lack of better terms, obviously we have a strong support here. Okay, that's a very strong support, somewhere in the range of what, 87 to 120. So that is a strong support level. We still have yet to find out if we have a strong resistance here between 151 and 169. We'll find that out soon here, of course, when this one-day candlestick either closes or we see a continuation of the upside, but still a little early to tell. We'll look at smaller time frames to identify that. So on the 4 hour, let's take a quick peek here. First of all, we're below the 50-day simple moving average. It's not great, but it could be worse. The good news is the 200 is working its way up to possibly help support the price. I like the fact that we have a MACD convergence here, potentially soon to occur, based on the simple fact that we have a strong reversal, right? I mean, you see how low Elon went. I mean, that was a pretty significant leg down, but it ramped right back up in the last 4 to 6 hours. So all good there. Only trouble I see is that we're under 50 on the RSI, but the RSI on the 4 hour chart is a little less impactful as the one-day chart. Therefore, I'm not super concerned, but that could be a potential resistance level. We'll see soon how that works. And concurrently, too, keep this in mind, 50 on the RSI right here is effectively the same as this 150 on the chart. So $1.50, I would say, is essentially one of the more major resistance levels that we need to keep our eyes on, right? It's just something to kind of pay attention to. We'll know soon. We'll take another look at this. I'll keep reviewing this here more frequently for you to make sure we stay on top of it, but I think that's definitely something to pay attention to. So looking at the 1 hour chart, let's take a quick look at the cloud. We're below the cloud still. It's potentially going to get rejected out by the cloud here soon, but we'll see. If it can break through to the upside, of course, break this resistance, and then get us up to, somewhere in the range of 150 or higher, we'll be in really good shape. Still, again, too early to tell, but it is trying to progress upwards, and you can tell that it's pushing, right? So those are some good signs. Definitely not bad yet, but it just means that we don't want to take entry yet. Personally, I mean, if I were to consider taking entry, I'd wait for the price to come back down and bounce off of 120 instead. That'd be my goal. But I'm more of a buy the strong support type. Everyone has different strategies, but I prefer when prices actually retrace down to support levels. So that could be something to consider. Let's take a quick look at the volume profile range, or the visible range here for the volume. And we'll just go ahead and go with the more consistent. So interestingly enough, we've seen the most amount of volume right where the price is at or just below. So this is a really good sign. It basically tells us if you split the difference between 120 and 150, what, 137.50, somewhere in that range, 137.5, that is essentially right where the support level's at. So the price is trending just above support. And again, this is the most amount of volumes occurred in this area. That doesn't necessarily mean it's like, the most impactful support level. It's kind of an invisible support, but it works very well in the big picture. Okay, so you want to understand that. That is definitely something that's helpful to note. So we're above that right now, which is a good sign. So if we can get the price to kind of go sideways right where it's at, or squeeze above 150, we'll be in really good shape. So all in all, again, I wouldn't say just go ahead and add to your position, but if you're dollar cost averaging, sure. But if you're just looking for a really good entry, wait to see how it responds to the cloud. If it rejects down and bounces off 120, perfect entry point. TD sequential is probably not going to tell us much. We're at a 6. Therefore, we have 3 hours of potential bullish momentum left. Maybe even 7 hours left, depending on if we go into overtime or not. But I would say that with this resistance level, when we have only a short amount of bullish momentum going into a resistance, it'll likely max out there and continue to either consolidate or retrace. So I think it's unlikely that it'll break above right away, but it could potentially do that soon, right? So that's kind of what we're looking at there. Now let's go ahead and just go with a potential for the future here. Whereas, where are we going to be when Elon breaks out again, right? Well, best case scenario, I would say more of a, month end scenario. We'd see about 466. That'd be a best case. I would say more immediate, we might see, again, we need to break this resistance level here right around 242. But generally speaking, we will likely probably see in the next couple of weeks if we can kind of break that resistance somewhere in the range, because I've noticed 1.414 is a pretty consistent resistance level for the Fibonacci. So that'd put us right around 322. So I'd say 322 is more immediate, but 466 would be more long-term. And again, long-term is likely month-end, possibly year-end, but we got to see how this recovers and how it bounces back. It's a little too premature to tell, but those are definitely some realistic targets. So if you're going to set some profit targets, do this here. Use a trading bot so you can first of all use 3 profit targets. That's why we have one in our community, to ensure that we always take profits, right? But set your profit targets just under the resistance levels created by Fibonacci, right? So for example, if you're going to have a profit target, I'd probably choose one at right around 1.44, a second one at 420, and the third one right at about, the highest point there at about 466. And I'd probably choose to take 70% of my profit in my first target, and then 15 and 15 on the last two, or maybe an 80, 10, 10. It's up to you and how you want to do that. Some people prefer 50, 30, 20, but all in all, you want to try to set 3 profit targets. That way, if you hit your target and the price bounces off that resistance level, you can add your profits back to that position at a lower price point and essentially lower your lower your overall cost with DCA, right? Dollar cost averaging. So something to consider. Also ensure you set trailing stop losses. That way, when you hit your targets, your profit, your sell stop moves right to your previous entry point, right? Something along those lines would be advantageous. But those are just kind of some recommendations here. So overall, I think we're in good shape here for Elon. We just got to really focus and see what happens with the price underneath the cloud, as well as that resistance level of 150. How does it respond? Does it roll and bounce down to 120? If it comes back down to 120, excellent buying opportunity. All good. All right. So hope you found benefit here today. If you do, like, subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much for joining me here again. Check out my Patreon community. We only have, just to clarify, we have only 200 spots available, and we're already about 106, if I'm not mistaken. So just keep that in mind. It's filling up quickly, and the next month, the price will actually increase too. So you can lock in your rates if you consider subscribing that this month here in November. Just something to consider. Either way, perfectly fine, all well and good. I thank you so much for your support. We'll look forward to seeing you in the next video. Have a great day.